The emergency signal came at 3 in the morning, ship time. Park Tae-ho was sleeping in his small medical bay when the alarm pulled him from his dreams. He sat up quickly, his heart beating fast. Red lights flashed on the walls. Something big was happening. He put on his white medical coat and ran to the bridge of the horizon's edge. Captain Yoon Hana stood there, her face serious as she looked at the main screen. On it, Tae-ho could see the largest ship he had ever seen. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The ship looked like it was made of black glass and silver metal. It belonged to the Silran Dominion. "What is happening, Captain?" Tae-ho asked. "The Silran Queen is dying," Hana said. Her voice was calm, but Tae-ho could see worry in her eyes. "Someone tried to kill her. They used some kind of poison that their doctors cannot identify. They are asking for help." Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. The Silran were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They looked down on humans. They called humanity the young ones and treated them like children who had just learned to walk among the stars. For them to ask humans for help meant they were truly desperate. "They want our medical team?" Tae-ho asked. "They want you," Hana said. "Specifically, your file says you have experience with unknown toxins. You saved those miners on Station 12 last year." Tae-ho remembered that day. 30 miners, all poisoned by a gas leak. He had worked for 2 days without sleep to find a cure. But that was different. Those were humans. He understood human bodies. The Silran were something else entirely. "I do not know anything about Silran biology," he said honestly. "Then you will learn," Hana replied. "This is not a request, Tae-ho. If the Silran Queen dies and we did nothing to help, it could mean war. Go. Save her." 1 hour later, Tae-ho stood inside the Silran flagship. Everything around him was strange and beautiful. The walls seemed to breathe with soft light. The air smelled like flowers and metal mixed together. Silran guards walked past him, their tall bodies covered in hard shells that shined like jewels. They had 4 arms each and faces that looked almost human, except for their large eyes that had many parts, like an insect. None of them looked at him. They treated him like he was not there at all. A Silran female approached him. She was smaller than the guards, and she wore white robes. Her eyes were a soft purple color. "I am Nurse Kira," she said. Her voice was musical, like someone singing while they talked. "I serve the Queen. You are the human doctor?" "I am a medic," Tae-ho corrected her. "Not exactly a doctor, but I will do my best." Kira looked at him for a long moment. He could not read her expression at all. Then she turned and walked away. "Follow me," she said. The Queen's chamber was at the heart of the ship. It was a massive room filled with soft blue light. In the center, on a bed made of something that looked like living crystal, lay Queen Velith. Tae-ho stopped walking. He had seen pictures of Silran before, but nothing had prepared him for the Queen. She was tall, even lying down. Her skin was pale silver, and her shell-like armor covered parts of her body in patterns that looked like art. But her face was what caught his attention. It was beautiful in a way that was hard to describe. Not human beautiful, but something older and stranger. Right now, that face was twisted in pain. Dark lines spread across her silver skin like cracks in ice. Her breathing was shallow and fast. "The poison is spreading," Kira said. "Our doctors have tried everything. Nothing works. She has maybe 6 hours left." Tae-ho moved closer to the bed. Around him, Silran doctors watched with cold eyes. They did not believe he could help. They thought humans were too simple, too young, too stupid to understand their advanced medicine. Tae-ho did not care what they thought. He had a patient to save. "I need samples of her blood," he said, "and I need to see everything you have tried so far. Every medicine, every treatment, every scan." For the next 3 hours, Tae-ho worked without rest. He studied the Silran medical data, which was far more advanced than anything humans had. But he also noticed something the Silran doctors had missed. They were too focused on their own knowledge. They only looked for Silran solutions to a Silran problem. The poison was not Silran. Tae-ho ran more tests. His hands moved fast over the equipment. The Silran watched him with growing confusion. This human was not following their methods. He was doing something completely different. "There," Tae-ho said finally. He pointed at his screen. "Look at this." The poison has a structure that is similar to something we have on Earth. It is like the venom from a snake called the king cobra, but modified. Someone made this poison using Earth biology as a base. The Silran doctors looked at each other. This made no sense to them. Why would someone use primitive Earth compounds to kill their queen? But Tai-Ho already understood. It was clever. The Silran had no defense against Earth toxins because they had never needed one. Their bodies had never met anything from Earth before. I can make an antidote, Tai-Ho said, but I need access to my ship. I have materials there that you do not have here. Kira spoke quickly to the other doctors in their own language. There was argument. Tai-Ho did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Some of them did not trust him. Some of them would rather let their queen die than accept help from a human. But in the end, they had no choice. Tai-Ho worked through the night. He mixed medicines from his own supplies with Silran compounds. It was dangerous work. One mistake could kill the queen faster than the poison. But his hands were steady. His mind was clear. As the sun of a distant star rose outside the ship's windows, Tai-Ho injected the antidote into Queen Velith's arm. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Silran doctors watched with cold, doubting eyes. Tai-Ho felt sweat run down his back. Then the dark lines on the queen's skin began to fade. Her breathing slowed and became steady. The machines around her bed sang with good news. Her heart was growing stronger. Her blood was clearing. The queen would live. Kira walked to Tai-Ho. She looked at him with new eyes, not the cold look she had given him before. Something different, something like respect. You saved her, Kira said softly. A human saved our queen. Tai-Ho was too tired to feel proud. He just nodded and sat down on the floor. His legs would not hold him up anymore. Someone wanted her dead, he said. Someone who knew enough about Earth to use our biology as a weapon. You should look into that. Kira's eyes went wide. She had not thought of this. The poison was not just a murder weapon. It was a message. It was a clue. But that was a problem for later. Right now, Tai-Ho just wanted to sleep. He did not know that his troubles were only beginning. He did not know that saving the queen's life was the easy part. The hard part was coming soon. And it would start with two simple words. 3 days passed after Tai-Ho saved the queen's life. He should have returned to the horizon's edge. He should have gone back to his small medical bay and his simple routine. But the Silran High Council had other ideas. You will stay and monitor the queen's recovery, they told him. It was not a request. It was a command. Tai-Ho had no choice but to agree. So he stayed on the Silran flagship, sleeping in a small room that was much too fancy for him. The bed was made of the same living crystal as the queen's bed. It was comfortable, but it made him feel strange, like he was sleeping inside something alive. Every day he visited the queen's chamber to check on her health, and every day he discovered that Queen Velith was the most difficult patient he had ever had. She was not grateful. She was not kind. She was demanding, proud, and impossible to please. The temperature in this room is wrong, she said on the first day. Fix it. Tai-Ho adjusted the temperature controls. The light is too bright, she said on the second day. It hurts my eyes. Tai-Ho changed the lights. I am thirsty. Bring me water. Not the water from this ship. I want water from my homeworld. Tai-Ho spent 2 hours finding someone who could get the right water. Read to me. I am bored. Read these reports about trade agreements with the outer colonies. Tai-Ho read for 3 hours until his voice was rough and tired. The queen never said thank you. She never smiled. She just gave orders and expected them to be followed. Tai-Ho understood that this was how she had lived her whole life. She was a queen. Everyone around her existed to serve her. She did not know any other way, but understanding did not make it easier. On the 4th day, Tai-Ho was exhausted. He had been awake for 16 hours. His eyes burned. His back hurt from standing so long. All he wanted was to sleep for a week. The queen was sitting up in her bed now, which was a good sign. Her silver skin had returned to its normal shine. The dark lines from the poison were completely gone. She was recovering well, but she was not happy about being stuck in bed. Medic, she called out. Her voice was sharp. Come here. Tai-Ho walked to her bedside. Yes, Your Majesty. My pillows are wrong. They need to be arranged differently. And I want more blankets. And tell Nurse Kira to bring my evening meal early. I am hungry now, not in 2 hours. Teho took a deep breath. He was so tired, so very tired. His brain was not working properly anymore. The filter between his thoughts and his mouth had stopped working. Yes, dear, he muttered. The words came out before he could stop them. It was something his grandmother used to say to his grandfather when he complained too much. It was a joke, a tiny bit of sarcasm to help him survive another day of endless demands. The room went completely silent. Teho blinked. He looked around, confused. Every Silren in the room had frozen. The guards by the door, the doctors checking their equipment, even the servants carrying fresh sheets. They all stood like statues, their many-part eyes wide with shock. Nurse Kira was standing near the window. She had been arranging flowers in a vase. Now the vase slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor with a crash. But she did not look at it. She was looking at Teho, and she was smiling. It was the first time Teho had seen a Silren smile. It made his blood turn cold. Kira walked toward him slowly. Her steps were careful and formal. When she reached him, she bowed deeply. It was a bow of great respect, the kind that servants gave to royalty. But she was not bowing to the queen. She was bowing to Teho. The bonding declaration is witnessed, Kira said in a clear, formal voice. I name you partner to the queen. Teho stared at her. I am sorry, what? Kira straightened from her bow. Her smile had not faded. If anything, it had grown wider. You have spoken the sacred words. You have accepted the bond. From this moment forward, you are partner to Queen Velith of the Silren Dominion. Teho felt dizzy. He looked at the queen. She was staring at him with an expression he could not read. Her silver face showed no emotion at all. I do not understand, Teho said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. I just said yes, dear. It was a joke. I did not mean anything by it. The words have been spoken, Kira said gently. In our language, what you said translates to an ancient phrase of absolute devotion. It is the promise a partner makes when they accept their place beside royalty. It has not been spoken to a Silren monarch in over 300 years. Teho felt his legs become weak. 300 years. The last partner to speak those words was the husband of Queen Velith's great-grandmother, Kira explained. He was a great hero of our people. When he spoke the bonding words, it was during a war. He promised to stand beside his queen until death. But I did not know, Teho said. His voice was too loud. He knew he was panicking, but he could not stop himself. I did not know what those words meant. It was just something I said because I was tired. Kira tilted her head. Intent does not matter in our culture. The words were spoken. They were witnessed. They were recorded. She pointed at a small device on the wall. A red light was blinking. The ceremony is complete. Teho turned to the queen. Your Majesty, please, tell them this is a mistake. I am just a human medic. I cannot be your partner. I do not even know what that means. Queen Velith was silent for a long moment. She looked at him with those large, strange eyes. Teho could not tell if she was angry or amused or something else entirely. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was cold and calm. Kira, leave us. Everyone leave us. I wish to speak with my partner alone. The word hit Teho like a punch to the stomach. Partner. She had called him her partner. The room emptied quickly. The guards, the doctors, the servants. They all left without a word. Even Kira walked away, though she gave Teho one last smile before closing the door behind her. Then they were alone. Teho and the queen, the human medic and the most powerful woman in the Silren Dominion. Sit, the queen commanded. Teho sat on the edge of her bed. His legs would not hold him up anymore anyway. You saved my life, the queen said, and now you have claimed me as your bond partner. Tell me, human, do your people even understand what they do? Or do you stumble through the universe causing chaos wherever you go? It was a mistake, Teho said again. A stupid joke. Please, your majesty, there must be a way to undo this. The queen was quiet for a moment. There is a way, she said slowly. I could make a formal denial. I could say that you are not worthy, that you tricked me, that the bonding is false. Hope rose in Teho's chest. Yes, do that, please. If I do that, the queen continued, I will be shamed before my entire dominion. A queen who was claimed and then denied her partner. It would make me look weak. My enemies would use it against me. The stability of my rule would be threatened. The hope in Taeho's chest died. Or, the queen said, you could play along. Taeho looked at her. Play along? Pretend to be my partner, just for a while, until we can find a graceful way to end this. A way that does not make either of us look like fools. Taeho thought about this. He thought about Captain Hana and what she would say. He thought about the human-Silran alliance and how fragile it was. He thought about all the ways this could go wrong. But he also thought about the queen, about how she had no one to help her, about how she was trapped by her own culture just as much as he was. How long, he asked. A few weeks, maybe a month. Just until the political situation calms down. Taeho closed his eyes. This was madness. This was the craziest thing he had ever done. Okay, he said. I will do it. The queen nodded. For just a moment, Taeho thought he saw something in her eyes. Relief, maybe, or gratitude. But it was gone so fast that he could not be sure. Then it is decided, she said. Welcome, partner. Your new life begins now. Taeho had a feeling that he had just made either the best or the worst decision of his life. He would soon find out which one. The news spread like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every Silran in the fleet knew what had happened. Within a day, the entire Dominion was talking about it. A human had spoken the sacred bonding words to their queen. A human was now partner to the throne. The reaction was chaos. On the horizon's edge, Captain Yoon Hana stood in her office, watching the reports come in. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. She had been a captain for 15 years. She had survived battles, diseases, and political nightmares. But this was something new. How? She asked Ambassador Baek Sung-ho, who sat across from her desk. How did this happen? Sung-ho looked like he had not slept in days. His eyes were red. His usually neat hair was messy. He was the human ambassador to the Silran, and his career was now hanging by a thread. He said, yes, dear, Sung-ho said. His voice was hollow. 2 words, 2 simple words, and now we might have started a war. Hana sat down heavily. What are the Silran saying? The High Council is divided, Sung-ho explained. Half of them want to execute Park Tae-ho for insulting their sacred traditions. They say he mocked the queen. They say humans have no respect for Silran culture. And the other half, Sung-ho let out a strange, tired laugh. The other half thinks it was destiny. They believe that the universe chose Tae-ho to be the queen's partner. Some of them are calling it a miracle. The first bonding declaration in 300 years, and it came from a human who saved the queen's life. Hana rubbed her temples. So either we have started a holy war, or our medic has accidentally become royalty. Those are our options. Yes, Captain. Hana stood up. I need to talk to Tae-ho. Now. But talking to Tae-ho was not easy anymore. He was no longer a simple medic on a human ship. He was partner to the queen, and that meant he was surrounded by guards and protocols and rules. Hana had to request a formal meeting. She had to wait 3 hours for approval. She had to follow a Silran guard through a maze of hallways to reach him. When she finally saw Tae-ho, she almost did not recognize him. He was wearing Silran robes. They were made of dark blue fabric that seemed to flow like water. Gold symbols were sewn into the cloth, marking him as connected to the royal house. His hair had been styled in the Silran fashion. He looked exhausted and confused, and completely out of place. Captain, he said when he saw her. Relief flooded his face. Thank you for coming. Please tell me you have a way to fix this. Hana looked at the guards standing nearby. Can we speak alone? No, one of the guards said. The partner must be protected at all times. Hana sighed. She stepped closer to Tae-ho and spoke quietly. What happened? Tell me everything. Tae-ho explained. The long days of caring for the queen, the exhaustion, the accidental words, the look on Nurse Kira's face. The queens offered to pretend until they could find a way out. When he finished, Hana was silent for a long moment. You agreed to pretend to be her partner? She said slowly. I did not have a choice, Tae-ho said. If I said no, it would have caused a political disaster. The queen told me it was the only way. The queen told you, Hana repeated. Her voice was hard. And you believed her? The same queen who has treated humans like insects for her entire reign? The same queen whose people think we are children playing at space travel? Teho looked down. She was different when we were alone. She seemed almost scared, like she needed help and did not know how to ask for it. Hana studied his face. She had known Taiho for 3 years. He was a good man, a kind man, perhaps too kind for a universe that did not reward kindness. The Silran High Council is meeting tomorrow, she said. They will decide what to do about this situation. Some of them want your head, Taiho. Literally, they want to execute you. Taiho's face went pale, but he did not look surprised. I know. The Queen has the power to stop them, but will she? If it comes down to your life or her pride, which one will she choose? Taiho did not answer. He did not know. The next day, the High Council met in the Great Hall of the Silran flagship. It was a massive room built from black stone and silver metal. Hundreds of Silran nobles filled the seats. At the front, on a raised platform, sat the Queen. She was dressed in her full royal armor, which covered her body in patterns of gold and silver. She looked healthy and strong. She looked like a queen. Taiho stood below her, on the floor of the hall, surrounded by guards. He felt very small, very human, very alone. The head of the High Council, a tall Silran male named Mordeth, stood to speak. His voice echoed through the hall. We are here to discuss the matter of the human who dares to call himself partner to our queen, Mordeth said. He did not look at Taiho. He spoke as if Taiho was not worth looking at. This creature has insulted our most sacred traditions. He has turned our holy bonding ritual into a joke. The punishment for such disrespect should be death. A murmur ran through the hall. Some voices agreed. Others did not. Another counselor stood. His name was Bren, and he was younger than Mordeth. His voice was calmer. The human saved our queen's life, Bren said. Without him, she would be dead. Perhaps the universe sent him to us for a reason. Perhaps the bonding words were not an accident, but a sign. The murmuring grew louder. The council was clearly divided. Mordeth spoke again, his voice cold. The universe does not choose humans for anything. They are a young species, chaotic, emotional. They do not understand our ways. This human probably did not even know what his words meant. That is true, Taiho said. Everyone in the hall turned to look at him. Humans were not supposed to speak at Silran Council meetings. It was not allowed. But Taiho was tired of being talked about like he was not there. I did not know what my words meant, he continued. His voice was clear and steady. I was tired. I had spent days taking care of your queen, and I made a mistake. I am sorry for that. Mordeth smiled a cold smile. You see? He admits it. It was a mistake. An insult. He should die for it. But, Taiho said, raising his voice, I have also agreed to honor the bonding. Your queen asked me to, and I said yes. Not because I had to, because it was the right thing to do. The hall went silent. Queen Velith spoke for the first time. Her voice was soft, but it carried to every corner of the room. This human saved my life when my own people could not. He spoke the sacred words, and even though he did not understand them, he has chosen to honor them. He could have run. He could have returned to his ship and his own people. Instead, he stayed. She stood up from her throne. Every eye in the room followed her. I was poisoned by someone who wanted me dead. Someone who used human biology to create a weapon against me. This human found the cure. He worked through the night to save me. And now you want to kill him for saying 2 words? Mordeth's face darkened. Your Majesty, the traditions must be respected. I am the tradition, the Queen said. Her voice was suddenly hard as steel. I am the Queen. I decide what the traditions mean. And I say that Park Tae-ho is my partner. Anyone who disagrees is free to challenge me. The hall was deathly quiet. No one moved, no one spoke. Challenging the Queen was possible under Silran law, but it meant combat. It meant risking death. No one challenged her. Mordeth sat down slowly. His eyes were full of hatred, but he said nothing. The Queen looked at Tae-ho. For just a moment, he thought he saw something warm in her eyes. Come, partner, she said. We have much to discuss. Teho followed her out of the hall. Behind him, he could feel hundreds of eyes watching. Some curious, some angry, some confused, but one pair of eyes watched with more hatred than all the others combined. Mordeth sat in his seat, his four hands clenched into fists. This was not over. He would make sure of that. Teho moved into the Queen's wing of the flagship. He was given a room that was bigger than his entire apartment back on Earth. The walls were covered with art that was older than human civilization. The bed could fit 10 people. The bathroom had a pool instead of a shower. He hated every part of it. Every morning, servants came to dress him in fancy robes. They styled his hair and painted small symbols on his hands that marked him as the Queen's partner. He was not allowed to go anywhere without guards following him. He was not allowed to eat in the common areas with regular crew members. He was not even allowed to contact Captain Hana without permission. He was a prisoner in a golden cage. But the worst part was the loneliness. He had no one to talk to. The Silran servants were polite but distant. The guards never spoke. And the Queen herself was always busy with meetings and councils and the endless work of running an empire. 2 weeks passed like this. 2 weeks of beautiful rooms and expensive food and complete isolation. Then one evening, things began to change. Tai-Ho was sitting alone in his room, staring out the window at the stars when the door opened. He expected a servant with his dinner. Instead, it was Queen Velith herself. She was not wearing her royal armor. Instead, she wore simple robes, dark purple with no symbols or decorations. Without all the gold and silver, she looked almost ordinary, almost like a person instead of a symbol. "Your Majesty," Teho said, standing up quickly, "I was not expecting you." "Sit down," she said. Her voice was tired. "I came to check on you. Kira tells me you have not been eating well." Teho sat. "I am not hungry." The Queen walked to the window and stood beside him. She looked out at the stars, her face unreadable. "You are unhappy," she said. It was not a question. "I am not unhappy," Teho said carefully. "I am just adjusting." "You are a bad liar," the Queen said. "Your face shows everything you feel. It is very human." Teho almost smiled. "I have been told that before." They stood in silence for a moment. Outside, a distant nebula glowed pink and gold against the darkness. "I came to apologize," the Queen said suddenly. Teho looked at her in surprise. "Apologize for what?" "For trapping you here, for using you to solve my political problems, for treating you like a tool instead of a person." She paused. "Nurse Kira tells me that humans need social interaction to be healthy. She says that keeping you isolated is making you sick." Teho did not know what to say. He had not expected kindness from the Queen. He had not expected her to even notice that he was suffering. "I am fine," he said. "You are lying again." The Queen turned to face him. Her large, complex eyes studied his face. "Tell me what you need. What would make this easier for you?" Teho thought for a moment. "I need to talk to someone. Anyone. I need to feel like I am not alone in all of this." The Queen nodded slowly. "Then talk to me." "What?" "I am here. I am someone. Talk to me." Teho stared at her. This was not how queens were supposed to behave. Queens gave orders. Queens sat on thrones and looked down on everyone else. Queens did not offer to listen to the problems of a random human medic. But Velith was not looking at him like a queen. She was looking at him like someone who was also very tired. Someone who was also very alone. "Okay," Teho said slowly. "What do you want to talk about?" "I do not know," the Queen admitted. "I have never had a conversation like this before. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life before all of this." So Teho talked. He told her about growing up on Earth in a small town near the ocean. He told her about his grandmother, who raised him after his parents died. He told her about medical school, about his first job on a space station, about the friends he had made and lost over the years. The Queen listened. She did not interrupt. She did not judge. She just listened. When Tai-Ho finally stopped talking, an hour had passed. He felt lighter than he had in weeks. "Your life sounds warm," the Queen said, "full of people who cared about you." "It was," Tai-Ho agreed. "What about you? What was your life like before you became queen?" A shadow crossed Velith's face. "I was always going to be queen. From the moment I was born, I was trained for it. I had teachers, not friends. I had duties, not hobbies. I learned to read political situations before I learned to play games. That sounds lonely, Tejo said. It was necessary, the queen replied, but her voice was soft, and Tejo could hear the sadness underneath it. Did you ever have anyone to talk to? Anyone who was just your friend? The queen was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. No, never. A queen cannot have friends. She can only have servants and subjects and enemies. Tejo felt something shift in his chest. He had been so focused on his own problems that he had not really thought about hers. But now he understood. The queen was just as trapped as he was. Maybe more so. At least his cage was new. She had been living in hers for her entire life. Well, he said carefully, I am not a servant, I am not a subject, and I am definitely not your enemy. So maybe I could be your friend? The queen looked at him. Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise? Hope? He could not tell. Humans are very strange, she said. So I have been told. A tiny smile appeared on the queen's face. It was small, barely there, but it transformed her entire expression. For just a moment, she did not look like a queen at all. She looked like a person. I would like that, she said. I would like to have a friend. After that night, everything changed. The queen began visiting Tejo regularly. Sometimes they talked for hours about nothing important. Sometimes they sat in comfortable silence watching the stars. Sometimes she asked him questions about human culture, and he asked her questions about Silran history. Slowly, Tejo began to see the person behind the crown. Velith was smart and curious and secretly funny. She had a dry sense of humor that surprised him. She loved to read stories about ancient heroes and wished she could have adventures instead of sitting in council meetings all day. And slowly, Velith began to change too. She smiled more often. She laughed at Tejo's jokes, even the bad ones. She started to relax around him in a way she never relaxed around anyone else. Nurse Kira watched all of this with quiet satisfaction. She said nothing, but her smile grew wider every day. But not everyone was happy about the changes. Mordeth, the head of the High Council, watched the queen and her human partner with growing hatred. He saw how she laughed with Tejo. He saw how she valued his opinions. He saw how the alliance between humans and Silran was growing stronger because of their relationship. This was everything Mordeth feared. He believed that the Silran should remain pure, separate from other species. He believed that humans were a disease that would corrupt his people. And he believed that the queen was too weak to see the danger. Late one night, Mordeth met with his allies in a secret chamber deep inside the ship. The queen is lost, he said. The human has poisoned her mind. If we do not act, he will destroy everything we have built. His allies nodded in agreement. They were all old-blood Silran, members of ancient families who believed in the old ways. What do you suggest? One of them asked. Mordeth's eyes were cold and hard. The poison did not work the first time. We will try something different, something more direct. You mean to kill her? I mean to save our people, Mordeth said. The queen is sick with human influence. Sometimes the only cure is to cut away the infection. The others exchanged nervous looks. This was treason. This was murder. But they also believed in Mordeth's vision of a pure Silran future. One by one, they nodded their agreement. Far away in her private chambers, Queen Velith laughed at another one of Tejo's terrible jokes. She did not know that somewhere in the darkness of her own ship, her death was being planned. And neither did Tejo. Not yet. The diplomatic banquet was the biggest event of the year. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in the Grand Hall of Crossroads Station, a massive space city that floated between empires. It was neutral ground, a place where enemies could meet without weapons and talk like civilized beings. Queen Velith attended the banquet with her full court, and of course with her human partner. Tejo had never worn anything so fancy in his life. His robes were made of silk that changed color when it moved, shifting from deep blue to bright silver. The symbols on his hands had been painted with real gold. His hair had been styled for 3 hours. He felt ridiculous. But when Velith saw him, something warm flickered in her eyes. You look like a proper consort, she said. I feel like a decorated cake, Teho muttered. Velith laughed. It was a real laugh, not the polite sound she made at official events. Several Silran nobles turned to stare. They had never heard their queen laugh like that. The banquet hall was filled with wonders. There were beings made of living crystal. There were creatures that floated in tanks of colored gas. There were beings so alien that Teho could not even tell which part was their face. And there were humans, too. A small group of diplomats from Earth's government, led by Ambassador Sung-Ho. He looked both proud and terrified to see Tai-Ho standing beside the Silran Queen. Do not embarrass us, Sung-Ho whispered when they passed each other. The whole galaxy is watching. Thank you for your confidence, Teho whispered back. The evening went well at first. There was food and music and careful conversation. Tai-Ho stayed close to Velith, not speaking unless spoken to. He was getting better at playing his role. He was learning how to smile politely and nod at the right moments and look like he belonged. But something felt wrong. Teho could not explain it. It was like an itch at the back of his mind, a feeling that someone was watching him. Not the curious looks of the other guests. Something darker. He looked around the hall, trying to find the source of his unease. Everything seemed normal. Guards stood at every door. Servants moved through the crowd with trays of food and drink. Nobles laughed and talked and made deals. Then he saw it. One of the servants was not moving like the others. His steps were too careful, too controlled. His eyes kept flickering toward the queen, and his right hand was held slightly behind his back, hidden by his body. Teho's heart began to beat faster. He was not a soldier. He had no training for situations like this. But he knew what he was seeing. He knew what that hidden hand meant. He looked at Velith. She was talking to a representative from the Crystal Collective, discussing trade routes and mineral rights. She had no idea what was about to happen. The servant moved closer. Teho moved too. He did not think. He did not plan. He just acted. One moment he was standing beside Velith. The next moment he was between her and the servant, his body blocking hers. The blade came out of nowhere. It was long and thin and black as night. It was aimed at Velith's heart, but Velith was no longer there. Teho was. The blade sank into his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body, white-hot and blinding. He heard someone scream. Maybe it was him, but he did not fall. He did not step back. Instead, he grabbed the assassin's arm with both hands and twisted. The assassin was strong, stronger than a human should be able to fight. But Teho was not fighting for himself. He was fighting for her. He threw his body weight forward, pushing the assassin off balance. They fell together, crashing to the floor. The blade pulled free from Teho's shoulder, and blood sprayed across the beautiful marble floor. The hall erupted into chaos. Guests screamed and ran. Guards rushed forward with weapons drawn. But Teho was not aware of any of it. His entire world had narrowed down to the assassin beneath him. He remembered something from his basic training years ago. A chokehold. You wrap your arm around the enemy's neck and squeeze. You hold until they stop moving. He did it now. His wounded arm screamed with pain. Blood soaked through his fancy robes. But he did not let go. He held on with everything he had, his teeth clenched, his vision going dark at the edges. The assassin struggled, then stopped, then went limp. Silran guards finally reached them. They pulled Teho off the unconscious assassin and surrounded the queen. But Velith pushed through them, ignoring their protests. She fell to her knees beside Teho. You fool, she said. Her voice was shaking. You absolute fool. What were you thinking? Teho looked up at her. The room was spinning. He could not feel his left arm anymore. But he could see her face, and he could see something there that he had never seen before. Fear, real fear. Not for herself, but for him. Had to protect you, he managed to say. That is what partners do. He meant it as a joke. One last bit of humor before he passed out. But the words came out serious. The words came out true. Velith stared at him. Tears were forming in her large, complex eyes. Silran did not cry often. Their bodies were not built for it. But she was crying now. Get the medics, she shouted. Get them now. The next few hours were a blur for Teho. He was carried to a medical bay. Silran doctors worked on his shoulder, removing the blade and repairing the damage. Human and Silran medicine worked together, just as they had when he saved the Queen's life weeks ago. When he woke up, Velith was sitting beside his bed. She looked like she had not moved in hours. Her royal robes were stained with his blood. Her eyes were red from crying. "You stayed," Teho said. His voice was rough and weak. "Of course I stayed," Velith said. "You almost died for me. Did you think I would leave? The council probably wanted you to. Bad image. The Queen sitting with a wounded human." "I do not care what the council wants." Velith's voice was fierce. "I do not care what anyone wants. You threw yourself in front of a blade for me. No one has ever done that before. Not even my own guards." Teho tried to smile. It probably looked terrible. "Your guards were following protocol. They could not move without orders." "I am not very good at following orders." "No," Velith agreed. "You are not." She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth against his. "The court is talking about what you did. They have never seen anything like it. A Silran male would never fight for his queen. That is what guards are for. Males advise. They manage. They stand aside and let others do the fighting." "That sounds stupid," Teho said. Velith laughed. It was a wet, emotional sound. "It is our way, or it was, but you showed them a different way, a human way." She squeezed his hand. "Thank you, Teho. Thank you for saving my life. Again." "Anytime," he said, "but maybe next time I will try not to get stabbed." "That would be nice." They sat in silence for a while. Teho felt exhausted and sore and strangely happy. He had almost died. He had been stabbed by an assassin at a fancy party. His shoulder was going to hurt for weeks, but she was alive. She was safe, and she was holding his hand. For now, that was enough. Outside the medical bay, Nurse Kira watched through the window. She smiled her small, knowing smile. "Partner confirmed," she whispered to herself. Far away in his chambers on the Silran flagship, Mordeth received news of the failed assassination. The human had survived. The Queen had survived. And now, because of his heroics, the bond between them was stronger than ever. Mordeth crushed the communication device in his 4 hands. Rage burned in his heart like a fire. This was not over. He would not let a human stand between him and his vision of a pure Silran future. If one assassin could not kill them, he would send an army. If blades could not stop them, he would burn them with war. The Queen had to die, and her human pet had to die with her, no matter what it took. Teho recovered slowly. The wound in his shoulder had been deep, and even the advanced Silran medicine needed time to work. For 2 weeks, he was confined to the medical bay, unable to do more than sit up in bed and receive visitors. Velith came every day. She would sit beside him for hours, sometimes talking, sometimes just being there. The court whispered about it. A queen spending so much time with a patient was unheard of, but Velith did not care about the whispers anymore. Something had changed between them. It was in the way she looked at him. It was in the way he looked at her. Neither of them spoke about it, but they both felt it. The pretend partnership was becoming something real. One evening, while Velith was reading to him from an ancient Silran story, Teho interrupted her. "The assassin at the banquet," he said. "Have they found out who sent him?" Velith's face darkened. "The investigation is still ongoing. The assassin died before he could be questioned. Poison hidden in a fake tooth." "That is very professional," Teho said. "Too professional for a random attack. Someone powerful is behind this." "I know," Velith said quietly. "Someone tried to kill me with poison made from Earth biology. Then someone sent an assassin to finish the job. This is not just one person. This is a conspiracy." Teho sat up straighter, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. "We need to figure out who. If we do not stop them, they will try again." "I have been thinking about it," Velith said. "The poison was designed to kill me in a way that Silran doctors could not cure. That means someone knew about our medical limitations. Someone high up, with access to secret information. And the assassin at the banquet got past all your security," Teho added. "That means someone on the inside helped them." They looked at each other. The same thought was forming in both their minds. "Someone on the High Council," Velith said slowly. "It has to be. Only they would have access to both the medical information and the security systems. Tae-ho thought about the council meeting weeks ago. He remembered the hatred in Mortis' eyes, the way the old counselor had looked at him like he was a disease that needed to be cut out. Mordith, he said. Velith nodded. He has always opposed the alliance with humans. He believes in pure Silran blood, and he has allies on the council who share his views. Can you arrest him? Remove him from power? Not without proof, Velith said. If I move against a high counselor without evidence, it will look like I am becoming a tyrant. Half the Dominion would turn against me. Then we need to find proof. Over the next few days, Tae-ho and Velith worked together in secret. They could not trust anyone else. Not the guards, not the servants, not even Nurse Kira. Anyone could be a spy for Mordith. Tae-ho used his medical access codes to look through the ship's records. He found something strange. On the day of the poisoning, someone had deleted the security footage from the Queen's kitchen. The deletion had been done by a high-level official, someone with council authority. Velith used her royal authority to access financial records. She found hidden payments, money flowing from old noble families to secret accounts, the same families that were loyal to Mordeth. Piece by piece, they built their case. It was slow work, dangerous work. Every time they found new evidence, they had to hide it carefully. They knew that Mordeth had spies everywhere. Finally, after 2 weeks, they had enough. Financial records, deleted footage, witness statements from servants who had been threatened into silence. It was not perfect, but it was enough to bring before the council. We move tomorrow, Velith said. I will call an emergency session of the council and present the evidence. Mordeth will be arrested and put on trial. Tae-ho felt uneasy. What if he knows we are coming? What if he has a plan? He probably does, Velith admitted, but we cannot wait any longer. Every day we delay, he gets stronger. That night, Tae-ho could not sleep. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that could go wrong. Mordeth was old and powerful and clever. He had been playing political games for longer than Tae-ho had been alive. Would they really be able to stop him? In the middle of the night, an alarm began to sound. Tae-ho jumped out of bed. Red lights flashed on the walls. The alarm was not the regular kind. It was a lockdown signal. Something very bad was happening. He ran to the door of his room, but it would not open. He was trapped. Through the window, he could see Silran soldiers running through the hallways, but they were not the regular guards. They wore different symbols on their armor, symbols that Tae-ho had seen before, the symbols of Mordeth's family. Tae-ho felt cold fear wash over him. Mordeth had moved first. While they were gathering evidence, he was gathering an army. A voice came over the ship's communication system. It was Mordeth's voice, cold and triumphant. Citizens of the Silran Dominion, I speak to you with a heavy heart. Our beloved queen has been corrupted by human influence. She has lost her way. She has betrayed our sacred traditions for the sake of an alien creature. For the good of our people, I have taken control of this vessel. Queen Velith is hereby removed from power. The human park Tae-ho will be executed at dawn for crimes against the Dominion. The message repeated, then repeated again. Tae-ho's blood went cold. He had to get to Velith. He had to find her, protect her, help her somehow. But he was trapped in his room with no weapons and no way out. Then his communication device buzzed. It was a text message from an unknown sender. Stay calm. Help is coming. A minute later, the door to his room slid open. Nurse Kira stood there, a strange device in her hand. Come with me, she said. Quickly. Tae-ho did not hesitate. He followed her through the hallways, staying in the shadows, avoiding the patrols of Mordeth's soldiers. Kira knew the ship better than anyone. She knew the secret passages and the forgotten corridors and the places where no one ever looked. Where is the queen? Tae-ho asked as they ran. She is safe for now, Kira said, hidden in a secure location with loyal guards. But Mordeth's forces are searching for her. We do not have much time. What can we do? There are only a few of us against an entire army. Kira smiled her small smile. Not just us. Look. She pointed to a window. Outside, in the darkness of space, Tae-ho saw something that made his heart skip a beat. It was the horizon's edge. Captain Ha-na's ship. It was flying toward the Silran flagship, its lights blazing and its weapons powered up. "Your captain received our distress signal," Kira explained. "She is coming to help." A new voice came over the communication system, a human voice. Captain Yoon Hana's voice. "Attention, Silran flagship. This is Captain Hana of the human vessel Horizon's Edge. We have received reports that your queen is in danger. We are coming to assist. Anyone who tries to stop us is welcome to try." Taeho felt tears forming in his eyes. Hana had come. Despite the danger, despite the risk of war, she had come. "One ship against the entire Silran fleet," Kira said softly. "Your people are either very brave or very stupid." "Both," Taeho said. "We are definitely both." But something amazing was happening. The Silran fleet, the dozens of warships that surrounded the flagship, were not moving to attack the Horizon's Edge. They were hesitating. The soldiers on those ships had seen what Taeho had done at the banquet. They had heard the stories. A human who saved their queen. A human who took a blade for her. A human who stood beside her when no one else would. And now a human ship was challenging an empire for her sake. One by one, the Silran warships began to turn their weapons away from the Horizon's Edge. One by one, they began to signal their loyalty to the true queen. Morduth's coup was failing. His support was crumbling. The fleet that he had counted on was choosing Velith instead. The tide was turning, and Taeho was going to make sure it turned all the way. The battle for the flagship was short but fierce. Loyal Silran soldiers, inspired by the support from their fleet, rose up against Morduth's forces. The hallways echoed with the sounds of combat. Energy weapons flashed. Commands were shouted in the musical Silran language. Taeho fought his way to Velith's side. He was not a soldier, but he did not care. He grabbed a weapon from a fallen guard and used it as best as he could. Nurse Kira stayed close to him, guiding him through the chaos. They found Velith in a sealed chamber near the heart of the ship. She was surrounded by her most trusted guards, all of them wounded but still standing. When she saw Taeho, relief flooded her face. "You are alive," she said. "So are you," he replied. "But this is not over yet. Where is Morduth?" "The command bridge," one of the guards said. "He has locked himself in with his most loyal followers. They control the ship's main systems from there." Velith stood tall. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the danger, she looked like a queen. "Then we go to the bridge. We end this now." The loyal forces pushed forward. Room by room, corridor by corridor, they fought their way toward the command bridge. Morduth's supporters were fierce, but they were outnumbered now. Most of the ship's crew had chosen to follow their true queen. Finally, they reached the bridge. The heavy doors were sealed shut, protected by the strongest locks on the ship. Velith stepped forward. "Morduth," she called out. "It is over. Your fleet has abandoned you. Your soldiers are surrendering. Open this door and face justice." There was silence for a long moment. Then Morduth's voice came through the speakers, bitter and full of hate. "Justice! You dare speak to me of justice? I have served the Dominion for 200 years. I have kept our blood pure, our traditions strong, and you would throw it all away for a human, a creature whose species was still living in caves while we ruled the stars." "Taeho is not my enemy," Velith said calmly. "He saved my life. He stood beside me when my own people turned against me. He showed me what true loyalty looks like." "He has poisoned your mind," Morduth shouted. "He has made you weak." "The queen I served would never lower herself to love a human." Velith was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft but strong. "You are right. The queen you served is gone, but the queen I have become is better, stronger, wiser, because of him." She looked at Taeho. Her eyes were full of something warm and true. "Open the door, Morduth. This is your last chance." The door slid open. Morduth stood inside alone. His followers had all surrendered. He held no weapon. He just looked at Velith with eyes full of defeat and hatred. "You have destroyed us," he said quietly. "You have opened the door to our extinction. Humans will spread through our empire like a disease. In 100 years, there will be no more pure Silren. We will be diluted, weakened, forgotten." Velith walked toward him. She showed no fear. "You are wrong. We will not be weakened. We will be changed, yes. But change is not death. Change is growth. The Silren who close themselves off from the universe will wither and die. But the Silren who learn from others, who grow with others, we will survive. We will become something better than we ever were alone. She stopped in front of Mordeth. Take him away. He will stand trial for his crimes. Guards moved forward and took Mordeth's arms. As they led him away, he turned his head and looked at Tae-Ho one last time. His eyes burned with hatred. This is not over, human, he hissed. Your kind brings nothing but destruction. One day the galaxy will see me as a hero for trying to stop you. Tae-Ho said nothing. There was nothing to say to a man like Mordeth. Some people were so afraid of change that they would burn the world to stop it. You could not reason with that kind of fear. The coup was over. The queen had won. But now came the harder part. 2 days later, Veleth stood before the entire Silren Dominion. The broadcast went to every ship, every station, every colony world. Billions of Silren watched their queen speak. Tae-Ho stood behind her, wearing simple human clothes instead of the fancy robes. He had asked to be allowed to watch from somewhere private, away from the cameras, but Veleth had refused. You stand beside me, she had said. That is where you belong. Now facing her people, Veleth spoke from her heart. My people, you have seen what happened on this ship. You have seen the betrayal, the violence, the attempt to destroy everything we are building, and you have seen who stood against it. Not just Silren, humans too. Captain Hana, who brought her ship into our space to protect me. Park Tae-Ho, who took a blade meant for my heart. She paused, letting her words sink in. I was saved by human medicine when our own doctors could not save me. I was protected by human courage when our own traditions failed. And I was reminded of my own heart by human kindness and humor when I had forgotten what it felt like to laugh. A murmur ran through the watching crowds. This was not the cold, distant queen they were used to. This was someone different, someone more alive. Counselor Mordeth believed that humans would corrupt us. He believed that our blood must stay pure, our culture unchanged. He was willing to kill me to protect that vision. Veleth shook her head. But purity without growth is not strength. It is stagnation. It is death. She turned slightly, looking at Tae-Ho. This human said 2 words to me, and by our law, those words made him my partner. He did not know what they meant. It was an accident, a joke. But since that day, he has shown me what those words truly mean. He has been loyal. He has been brave. He has been kind. He has been everything a partner should be. The entire Dominion was silent, waiting. The bonding declaration was spoken and witnessed. By our law, it stands. But law is not the only reason I accept it now. Veleth reached out and took Tae-Ho's hand. I accept it because I choose to. Because he has earned it. Because he is worthy of it. She looked at him and her eyes were full of warmth. If he will have me. Every camera in the Dominion was pointed at Tae-Ho. Every eye was watching. He felt his heart beating so hard that he thought everyone could hear it. He thought about his life before all of this. His small medical bay, his simple routine, his lonely nights among the stars. Then he thought about Veleth, about her laugh, her curiosity, her courage, about the way she made him feel like he mattered, like he was home. Yes, dear, he said. This time it was not a joke. Veleth smiled. It was the biggest, brightest smile he had ever seen from her. She pulled him close and pressed her forehead to his, a Silren gesture of deep affection. Across the Dominion, reactions were mixed. Some Silren cheered, some were shocked, some were angry, but most were simply watching, waiting to see what this new future would bring. Nurse Kira, watching from the crowd, whispered softly to herself. Partner confirmed. She had known from the beginning. She had seen it in the way Tae-Ho looked at the queen. She had seen it in the way the queen looked at him. Some things were written in the stars before they ever happened. The human-Silren alliance grew stronger after that day. Other species noticed. They saw a human standing beside one of the most powerful queens in the galaxy. They began to wonder what else humans might achieve. And somewhere in the darkest corners of the universe, older and stranger powers began to pay attention. A young species was rising, a species that broke rules and changed traditions and loved without limits. A species that faced impossible odds and won. The story of Park Tai-ho and Queen Velith spread across the stars. It became legend. A tale of accidental words and unexpected love. A tale of courage and sacrifice and change. But for Tai-ho and Velith themselves, it was not a legend. It was just their life. Their strange, wonderful, impossible life together. One morning years later, Velith found Tai-ho sitting by a window in their chambers, watching the stars. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. He smiled and took her hand. "I am thinking about how I almost did not come to that meeting, how I almost said no when Hana told me to save you, how one different choice would have changed everything. But you did come," Velith said. "You did save me. And you did say yes, dear." Tai-ho laughed. "The best accident of my life." Velith leaned against him, her silver skin warm against his. "Not an accident anymore." "No," he agreed, "not anymore." Outside, the stars burned bright and endless. The universe was vast and full of mysteries. There were still enemies to face, challenges to overcome, adventures to have. But for now, in this moment, there was just them. A human and a queen, partners in all things. And that was more than enough.